speak of it and how it's changed over the years, going into this bonus target culture.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of pressure in that environment.
Good. Do you want to just tell these gentlemen what topic it is that you're looking at? You maybe know already. But
We had an email from Arthur,
which I thought was very enterprising.
which was good actually. No, that's good because otherwise we have to be completely sort of do it by the seat of our pants,
Which I'm sure you could do.
but it enabled just to perspective of which we're coming from. So if you want to introduce and just tell us a little bit about what.
Yes. So. The main question for the commerce section, the main question we were given was technology and business, friend or foe, and then from that we were allowed to go look at any aspect of that. And my group, we chose to do sort of a timeline of how technology in the banking sector changed from very much just like counting paper money and writing everything down on paper to computers, ATMs, and all the way to online banking. So we decided to do a timeline of how technology changed and were these changes beneficial both to banks and to the bank's customers.
Yeah.
So
My group, we chose the topic on Bitcoin because we thought it was very interesting, very contemporary, something that we can relate to.
Controversial.
Yeah, controversial. So our questions will be focused on how it has impacted banks, how Bitcoin's implementation has impacted banks, as well as Sweden's point of view on Bitcoin.
Yeah, I can give you a good overview on that.
Do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So our first question was how, I believe I sent you that question, how has the development of computers and the automatic cash counting machines affected workers such as bank tellers within the bank itself? Has it, obviously we were thinking of ideas like maybe it's increased efficiency, things like this?
Yeah, I can speak from a lot of experience there because when I joined the bank industry in 1979, actually we programmed the branch computer with a punched tape, and it was a golf ball little head that went running up and down and the sheets that it printed out on were this wide, and we manually filed the ledgers in the bank and we manually checked the balances, so it makes me sound absolutely ancient, which but it's amazing. It's only sort of 35 odd years ago that was the case, and literally, you know, if the office was this room, then there would be big pots of paper, ledgers, and big wedges of vouchers and cheques that we would be filing in the customer's files. So there's been absolutely huge changes then, and I guess you know, in those days it was relatively easy to get a job in a bank because it was very labour intensive, and so, you know, computers have actually revolutionised banking. I guess overall the banks have grown bigger, but the number of people operating the business has probably shrank in relation to the size of the bank. But I mean, if you looked at Barclays, for example, there's a lot more people working for Barclays today than there were when I joined in 1979. You know, they've got approximately 140,000 people. Then it would have been a business of 60,000 people. But that's a product of the fact that they've just grown massively, and the efficiencies due to computerisation and machines have meant less people can do more business. At the end of the day, it hasn't been detrimental to workers. I don't think people have just been employed in different ways. More people have been moved from the back office to the front office, deal with customers and sell products. So yeah, I don't think that what it has done is, over the last 20 years, there's been a gradual attrition of the UK branch network for banks. You're constantly seeing branches closed, and that's not good going to change, and actually I see another wave of branch closures coming through. That is totally different to our strategy. Our strategy is to open lots more branches, and the last 2 years we've been opening a new branch in the UK every 8 business days. We believe that people want to deal with people. Yes, you need all of the technology and everything to be efficient in helping them do their day-to-day banking without touching the branch. But at the end of the day, when it comes to actually doing something more complicated, then they want to come in and have a discuss their finances. Yes, so it's changed, it's revolutionised banking, conclusive accounting. It's been positive for the customer, it's been positive for staff because the jobs are more interesting, less mundane.
And how, for the second question, how's the development and mass use of debit and credit cards compared to cash affected the bank? Has it made things simpler?
Yeah, again, it's a bit big changes because the UK has always had a love affair with cheques, and that volume of cheques, particularly in the personal banking market, has died down to close to nothing, and debit and credit cards have taken their place. It has reduced fraud, believe it or not, with having cards, because cheques are easier to alter and do things too, but different types of fraud have now come through. So that probably cards are probably the biggest area of fraud at the moment, but it replaced a different kind of fraud beforehand. But it's made massive differences in the volume of transactions is up there, and other types of transactions. The one thing that is changing that we'll touch on a little bit later, though, is mobile banking, the use of the phone. That will see cards start to drop, and mobile banking will use of phones and the use of electronic wallets and virtual money will take over.
How long have cheques got, would you say, if we had to pin you down and say...
That's a real difficult one, because you would be amazed, actually, that businesses still use a lot of cheques. It's significant in the United States, it's significant in the UK. Sweden, very little. But, we would love to phase out cheques, but I guess it's still got at least another 20 years on it.
Really?
Yeah,
as long as that,
I do.
I guess the issue is with there's still generations that all they've grown up with is cheques. Like my grandparents, all they've used is cheques.
Yes.
And until those generations are starting to phase out.
I guess so. Yes.
And businesses as well,
Exactly.
Businesses aren't like people, it's like we've always done it that way, so...
Well, like when I'm not teaching, we have a public relations company, and we try and avoid cheques at all costs, because the good thing about using BACS, which is the method of paying online, is you always have a record there, and it's much easier. And
well, we bank a large regional firm of solicitors, so they're a very large firm of solicitors across East Anglia, and they probably issue 200 or 300 cheques a day. Easily. A day. They're electronically produced, but they still issue cheques because they like to do it that way.
There's also like a fraud, there's other problems, not clearing, getting lost in the code. There's a whole host of problems with checks.
The costs are significantly higher, but they still like to do it. They like that control. Partners are all quite traditional. They like to put a cheque for whatever it is they're sending their client in the post. It's quite bizarre, really. There's a number of other companies that like to operate like that.
Well, our next session we talked about the development of more automated machines like ATMs. I know Handelsbanken doesn't have any ATMs in this country.
It's because we can use everybody else's. Come in. Nice to meet you, Bill.
what happened there, Bill?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Have we got enough chairs? Yeah, we've got 1, 2. Can we have another chair?
Sure. Well, I think people.
Sorry.
Do you want to sit there? And I'll walk around and take
You
a
can grab another chair out of there. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
couple down
yeah,
there as well.
I think there's been a taxi.
That's
problem.
right, that's
Taxi.
right, that's right, no problem at all.
Did you guys want to introduce yourself and just say what it is that the topic that you're looking at?
Hello, my name is Carl and this is Yi.
Nice
We
to
are
meet you.
doing the project about internet banking and how it will develop in the future.
Okay, yeah, interesting, yeah. So give you lots of information on that. Just very, very fast, we've already done an introduction thing, but I'm Richard, the branch manager at Handelsbanken here. I've been banking for 35 years, both from Barclays and founded the branch Handelsbanken here.
I'm James. I've been working in the bank for 8 months. I joined straight out of university. Came from the University of Leicester.
So, and just quickly, overview of Handelsbanken, Swedish bank, been in the UK about 40 years, but we're expanding rapidly in the UK. So we started Cambridge in 2005, 3 people, we're now 13 staff. At the time we were the 20th branch in the UK. Last week we opened our 175th office. Quite rapid growth. Okay.
Yes.
So, sorry, you were on question number?
3, yes.
Yeah.
On the ATMs, so your bank doesn't have any ATMs in this country, but what's your view on ATMs? Do you think it's made transactions simpler for customers, and has it had negative effects such as on unemployment?
It's definitely, it's made it a lot simpler and quicker for customers to go and get cash and paying checks through that method. And I suppose the important thing is it's allowed 24-hour banking now. You can go and get cash out, any time of the day. In terms of branches, it's probably meant that you can have less of them and to make them a bit smaller. Obviously, you've got the little hub in the outside that can provide a lot of service. In terms of employment, I think we just decided that it probably reduced the number of employment in certain areas, but they've probably been relocated. As Richard mentioned earlier, they've probably been moved from back office to front office, especially like Barclays now focused on selling. So probably
Branches
that.
more like shops.
Yeah, so
Do you think it may have created jobs in actually like fixing the machines when they get broken or things like that? More technicians maybe?
I think it might. I mean, there is a high prevalence of machines. There's a whole industry surrounded by the maintenance machines. It's not actually done by bank staff, most of it, though. It's actually done by security companies that do it. So, yes, I think, but possibly outside of banking, it's increased. Inside of banking, perhaps small branches, few less people.
And for my next question, we want to sort of very, very briefly, because it's not our main topic, but how has the development of online and mobile banking services affected your bank and general UK banking?
similarly again, it's increased efficiency, so it allows customers to make quick payments, and they're more secure, which is important. As we just discussed, checks aren't that secure, so if you can do it online, it's far more appropriate. Again, 24-hour banking. And then from our point of view, we offer full online banking for personal customers, corporate, just as you get in a Barclays or HSBC. But interestingly, mobile banking payments have started to overtake online payments. So actually a lot more people are going to start doing it on their iPhones. Now I do everything on my iPhone, so I think that's probably where the future lies.
Do you have an actual app that does all that, or do you have to log on to?
Yeah, we've got a Handelsbanken app, which is just looks like your sort of your HSBC or your Lloyd's app. Just
Press it, bang, it comes up. And I think the interesting thing is that for the first time, Sweden is more advanced in the electronic payments field than we are, because it doesn't really have checks. but for the first time 3 months ago, only 3 months ago, mobile payment volumes overtook online payment volumes. I think that's a very significant thing. We're nowhere near that yet in the UK. Online leads the way, but mobile is, the growth rate is significant and will soon overtake.
Is it quite secure? Is it open to hacking, for example?
No, it's a lot more online and mobile payments are a lot more secure than cards. Cards have far more fraud than we do online. You know, everything can be subject to hacking or whatever, but you know the banks are well aware of that, and integrity of the system is absolutely vital. The minute people lose confidence in the system, then you've had it.
Yes.
So a huge amount of resource and effort is put into the security of those systems, and the security is getting a lot more sophisticated. So James and I were discussing it, and we were in Las Vegas recently, and JP Morgan are using biometrics now, so iris recognition and I think that is possibly the future as well.
One of the
Just
things,
use your phone on your iPhone and tell you who you are.
so one of the things I always worried about when making online payments is accidentally paying it into the wrong account, transposing account numbers, because it does happen. You read in newspapers about this happening. Well, have you got any experience of that?
We've got customers who've done that. I mean, a lot of customers use templates, so if you're paying somebody you pay on a regular basis, then it's already set up. But customers do make mistakes. They stick extra zeros on the amount that they want to send people, or they send it to the wrong account number. Generally speaking, it's pretty simple to get the money back. There's some case law around wrongful credit for accounts.
Yes.
So in certain circumstances you could lose the money. So if you pay somebody into an account and it's the wrong account and they think it's part of their normal course of business, they can spend it, and you haven't got a legal right to get it back, but normally the bank's fairly sympathetic to that, unless we think people have been completely stupid.
And is that also true of cheques as well?
That happens as well. Cheques can be paid into wrong accounts.
And it's the same law about getting
Depends
the
who's
money
done
back.
what. Yeah, that's right. Depends. If the bank's made the fault, the bank will always recompense you. If the customer's made the fault, we will do our absolute best to recompense, and 99.9% get the money back. But there is certain case law where that's not happened.
Fine.
Just very briefly, our very last question. What do you think the technological future of banks is?
I think it's very much in the field of mobile banking, so phones will take over, virtual wallets.
Yes, virtual. Can you say a little bit about that? Because we found about that, but we're not exactly sure what they are, what they do. So.
I mean, effectively, a lot of the virtual wallets are pre-charged. You load either your phone or your card with a set amount of money, which then can be spent relatively easy, but so it's not like a credit card, it's not like a debit card, and these virtual wallets can quite often also hold a number of different currencies at the same time, and that's pretty much how it works. And then of course you've got virtual money, which is different, which is Bitcoin, and differently, and we as a bank don't support virtual currencies. We believe that they're unregulated, subject to fraud, subject to illegal activity, and we have had a flurry recently of virtual currency companies trying to open bank accounts with us and other banks. We believe that we are the same as the other banks. We're rejecting them as customers, which is going to make it very difficult for them to operate. Obviously, with Bitcoin, they can operate in a virtual environment, but they won't have a bank account to support it. I think that's the way it's going, and that could be one of the ways that the virtual currency is possibly going to have to learn to operate without the banking around them, which, you know, with the Japanese exchange that went bust the other day because a lot of their bitcoins were stolen by hackers. I think people will be extremely nervous about virtual currency for the moment, but there's a lot of variations out there. It's not just Bitcoin, there's a lot of people coming up with different ways to trade goods and services using virtual currencies, but certainly as a bank we're not keen to support that because anti-money laundering regulations in the UK mean that it's actual personal liability from a banker's point of view if we take in money, pay out money, process transactions from customers and we don't really know where the source of the money is coming from or where it's going to, then we can get in a lot of trouble. And actually it's not only the bank that gets into trouble, it could be down to the individual. So we take great care to actually get to know we call it KYC, know your customer. There's a lot of effort that goes into making sure we know our customer and their business when we take them on board these days, and that's very difficult to do if you're dealing with a virtual currency in the sky, all sorts of people trading in from abroad and, you know, restricted countries that have banking regulations against them, can't control it, so we just don't go there.
Do you think Bitcoin's got much of a future?
It's difficult to say, you know, it's got its problems, you know, it's had its massive problems, but it still retains a popularity, but whether it will always be a sort of sideshow, I don't know. It hasn't got a place at the moment in general commerce simply because it's unregulated. And I don't think, you know, unless governments can get to grip with regulation, and then that will destroy the popularity of Bitcoin, perhaps. Because there's a bit too many people looking at what's going on, and, you know, it's been well known that, you know, it's been used for drug trading and money laundering activities.
I think we're going to come on to the Bitcoin because you've got your questions. Is there anything else I'd be able to add? Can I just ask one quick question just about this virtual wallet? Is that like going to be? Can you see it taking over from small ticket items?
Yeah, possibly. Although there's other technologies, though, you know, the cards themselves and the phones themselves, they're just touch technology. So you just go put your phone there or put your card there. So why do you need a virtual wallet? You know, at least with a virtual wallet, you don't have to provide credit, and it limits the amount of losses. So I don't think it will be used for other reasons other than paying people quickly for small items.
I just like to say these guys aren't texting; they're making notes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah,
I think an example of a virtual wallet is probably Starbucks. They're getting to grips with it quite well.
Yes.
So, like, you preload it on your phone, and then you can just scan it and you pay for your Starbucks on your phone.
Have you done that?
No, I haven't. But especially like with the new iPhones, like with thumbprint scanners to get in. So if I make any purchase on my phone, like it's got to scan my thumb for it.
So the biometrics are going to come a big time in the future.
Extraordinary. Bitcoin.
So I understand that big countries and very important ones for the world economy, they are posing bitcoins, such as China, Germany, France, Canada. Why do you think, in particular, Sweden has chosen to join these countries?
Well, that's a good question. In terms of opposing Bitcoin, I think for the reasons, you know, Sweden's an advanced country, it's well regulated. You know, it's part of the EU anyway, and we just don't want to get involved in unregulated currencies that, you know, that could cause the bank big problems. I mean, it's well publicised. For example, HSBC fined last year several billion pounds in the US for anti-money laundering, breaking regulations. Barclays were fined as well. And the minute you start to get involved in these things, then you open the bank to not only prosecution in its own countries, and Swedish banking regulation and control is tougher than the UK. Banks have to have high capital ratios. shows and have to follow even tighter regulation. But you also open yourself to prosecution abroad, because we have offices in New York, we have offices in the UK, we have to be subject to different legal rules, so it's best left alone completely.
What is Handelsbanken's role in opposing Bitcoin?
We don't see we have a role. We're apolitical. We don't you know, it's just for us.
Yeah.
We are regarded as a very safe and prudent bank, rated as 11th strongest bank in the world recently. We just don't believe it has a future within our bank, but we don't take a role in trying to push it away. We think that will happen within the industry as a whole.
Yeah, so just completely staying out of it.
Yeah, just completely.
What are the impacts of businesses adopting Bitcoin? How does it impact Handelsbanken?
It doesn't impact us at all because we stay clear of it, and we don't provide any facilities at all to, you know, companies that trade Bitcoin are unlikely to be customers of Handelsbanken. Simple as so. So we don't see any impact on our customers, and we don't think customers that, we just don't tend to have customers in the class of companies that use Bitcoin as a currency. So it's not really registering hugely on our consciousness, although we have had a number of approaches from companies wanting to start other virtual currencies as well. And there's quite a few in Cambridge that are in the tech sector that are looking at using different versions of virtual currency type platforms, because we've got companies like WorldPay and people like that around in this area. We're not interested in that because we can't get our head around the anti-money laundering problems that brings.
When I was doing my research, I read this article online that says that Handelsbanken support Bitcoin exchange called Cefalo, which is a Swedish Bitcoin exchange.
Right,
Is
okay.
that true?
I'm afraid I couldn't answer that because I don't know is the answer. I'll have to go and Google it myself and have a look, but I would be surprised if we got too involved in it.
Yeah, because
Be
a
very
lot of
surprised.
things that we read online is we don't know whether it's true or not. So
Yeah.
actually.
I mean, as a bank, we have a reputation for being whiter than white, so it would surprise me immensely. I mean, we like to pride ourselves that actually we're a very traditional bank with a modern edge, and so we in Sweden we have some of the best sort of online and app-based banking you can get, but I'd be surprised if we're supporting Bitcoin heavily, if at all.
If it is true, do you think that this hints that Sweden as well as other Scandinavian countries could be early adopters of Bitcoin?
Possibly. I mean, certainly what's different about Sweden and generally in Scandinavia to the UK is that they are far more tech savvy and online. You know, they like to do pretty much everything online, and you see that in the patterns of payments that are being made versus the UK, and just complete lack of checks that they have. So it's possible, but I think for it to have any success, it's got to be regulated.
Is there a bigger incidence of computer ownership and broadband access in Scandinavia?
It's a good question. I think I'm not aware that the level of ownership is any higher, just in that they use them more for more things. So from a banking perspective, they're bigger adopters of using computer-based, but do they own more computers or phones? I'm not convinced.
I'd just say probably the only thing I could think was obviously Sweden, country that probably infrastructure is probably a bit easier to manage than here.
Yeah.
Do you think that higher incidence of computer literacy than in Britain among the population as a whole? Because we were talking about older people earlier. Do you think they?
It's difficult. I mean, it's a big country, and the population is only, I think it's about 8 million compared to 66 million in the UK. the same landmass. So the infrastructure is a hell of a lot bigger and easier, or easier to manage. It's more condensed. So they do tend to have hot, cold running broadband, and so when you go over there, everything you go and you book yourself into hotels, and you think it is well set up for online. But are they more computer literate? I don't think so. I mean, we bring in quite a few Swedes into our own computer department, computer place in the UK, and a lot of our guys go over there. So I think it's very on a similar level. I just think it's bigger population, more difficult to get deeper penetration and adoption.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do you see any possibilities of other banks or Handelsbanken in supporting Bitcoin in the future?
It's a possibility, but I think again, banking regulation is getting tougher. It's not getting, and we also have new capital requirements coming in. This is Basel III, over and above Basel II, which is part of the capital adequacy regulations across Europe. So all of that time, that is making things more difficult for banks to operate. And until such time as regulation comes in, I like using the word, but we're in the most regulated environment we've ever been in our history, because the recent banking collapse from 2008 has meant it's just got a lot tougher, and anti-money laundering is very, very high on most government agendas. So until that can be solved, I don't see it being adopted.
Could I just ask you to explain money laundering a little
bit,
just in case?
Money laundering is basically the act of taking dirty money, so that is money from illegal activity, any illegal activity, whatever it may be, putting it through the banking system, and a series of transactions occur, normally operated by the customer, and then out the other end pops out the money, and it might be the proceeds of a property sale, it might be something that it's gone into then out of to make the money look clean and legal. And so from the banker's point of view, we need to know when we're taking on a customer is they are who they say they are, they live where they say they live, the source of their income is checkable. We can trace it back, and what we need to also understand how they spend their money, how they like to spend their money, and the whole system operates on a system of pulling out. So, we can enter that profile into our systems, and then our systems will tell us when there's something a little bit out of the ordinary going on, and then we can look at that and we can decide whether we think it's suspicious or not. But we're under an obligation to report it if it is suspicious to the authorities. And every bank is like that.
Last question. Present and future, do you think there are any positive impacts at all of Bitcoin on banks?
I mean, the positive impacts could be if it were to become regulated, it gives us another opportunity to make money in different ways. So there'll be profit opportunities, certainly efficiencies again. It could come in with the opportunity for new products. There's all sorts of opportunities it could bring.
As long as it's regulated.
Yeah, has to be.
But I suppose the difficulty with Bitcoin is that it's so volatile.
Yeah.
If I owned a company, why would I want to accept Bitcoin when the next day could be half the value?
Yeah.
All it takes is a media event, China to say we're not accepting Bitcoin, and the value halves. And then
Well, I'm told there is a pub in Cambridge that does accept Bitcoin, which is the
Haymakers and the Bonshire Arms, only these two pubs.
Yeah, and which is amazing given its volatility.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
You've done well. I'm going to take these two groups now because they have to get a taxi back. I'm going to leave you with Bill and these two. Is that all right?
Yeah. How do we order the taxi?
I'm going to order one for you. I'll get another one that will come in 15 minutes.
15 minutes will be fine.
Will be fine,
Lovely, yeah.
and I'll make sure these.
Okay,
Thanks
I'll
so
send
much
if
for your
you
help. That's
could
made a
fill
real
the
difference
others.
just to get